hello and welcome. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're in Ireland, I assume?
Yeah, I'm here in Belfast in Northern Ireland, yeah.
And how are things there?
Um, it's okay. We've kind of recently moved to level 4 now, so cases are actually going up here. So
Uh,
it for a while we'd reached some kind of plateau and it was chill, but yeah, things are starting to get hairy again. But yeah,
yeah, well, we
we're
went
doing
through the
okay though.
same thing. We had like 100 days of no cases. Everything went back to
Yeah,
normal. And then we got a couple of more cases and everything went unnormal again. So now we're kind of heading back to normal again.
yeah.
It's a weird way to spend a year.
For sure. I think you guys though you're handling it much better. For sure.
We're doing our best.
Yeah.
But anyway, so congratulations on the record, Peninsula. So it came out
Oh, thank you.
last Friday, right?
Friday, yeah.
Yeah. So how's it been putting a record out in this environment?
It has been strange, because even in the recording of it, we finished recording it in kind of mid-March and already like lockdown and everything was kind of creeping in. I just met at home at that time. So I don't know, it's kind of been, it's felt strange to kind of put music out in a time when people should like, they have so many other concerns and things going on. But I feel like the response that we've got from people, especially just over the weekend, has been really positive and people seem to have been appreciating it. So that's really cool.
Well, it's a good time to sit around and listen. A lot of people have time on their hands to listen to music. It's not like they're running around doing their jobs and stuff. So it's a plus.
Yeah, I really like that. Like, I think the whole album listening vibe, instead of just being singles or short little
Right.
EPs, just the experience of sitting down, listening to an album front to back. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And is that the way you put this album together, with that kind of experience in mind?
I hope so. I tried hard to make sure that, everything flowed right and it felt good. So, yeah.
Now, my understanding is you kind of worked with somebody by the name of Marta Salogni.
Saloni, yeah. She's an amazing producer and mixing engineer. She mixed the record as well. We recorded it in Strong Room Studios in London.
Right.
So yeah, she's worked with all kinds of crazy, beautiful people, and it was a great time. Like, we worked in 2 sessions and also worked with David Wrench on 2 of the tracks, Young Neanderthal and Always Going, at his studio in London as well. So yeah, it was just a lovely collaboration, and yeah, very stoked that I got to work with him.
So it's essentially a solo effort of yours. Are there other people working with you, or are you pretty much doing everything?
Oh no, like yeah, we had like a combination of the guys from the live band who I play with, bass player,
Right.
drummer, and guitarist. And then we brought in session players for a bunch of the other songs that had string sections and things like that, keys and things. But I write all the songs, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice being able to like collaborate with that many people and have their kind of talent on it. So yeah, it's great.
And so talk to me about a couple of the tracks that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we could go, like, we put out Young Neanderthal first, which was kind of like a big bombastic kind of anthemic song.
Right.
Right off the bat. I made a video for it, like a little DIY music video during lockdown, because
Right.
there was like no other thing to do, and I love video editing and kind of other creative stuff as well, so that was really fun to put out. And then
Speaking
one
of
of my other
video,
favorites
isn't there a film that just came out yesterday or the day before, some 27-minute film?
Yeah, so because we can't play gigs, obviously, because of COVID, we wanted to kind of create a companion piece to the album that people could just sit down with and enjoy, instead of an album launch gig or something like that. So the film is kind of like part performance, part documentary. So there's 6 songs that we perform from the album live, and
Right.
then there's interviews and stuff woven in. Yeah.
And how do you feel about having to kind of present yourself like that, as opposed to, I mean, normally you'd be out doing gigs and stuff, I assume. So it's got to be a different kind of
Yeah,
head space.
it's different for sure, but I've kind of enjoyed the the chance to kind of be more creative with it,
Right.
with the kind of the launch of the album, and have a kind of a different slant to it, an artistic approach to it, because we got so many awesome people together to make that project happen, and I think it was especially nice to have other people feel like they're part of something in a time when people's livelihoods are very much affected. So it was just great to be able to be like, hey, we're working on this thing, can we do this? And yeah, it turned out great, so I'm very proud of it.
So pick another song on the album to tell me about.
Sure. I like one of my favorites is Pendulum.
Pendulum.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the very optimistic songs on the record. Really kind of the shift in dynamic is one of my favorites, and yeah, for sure that's one of my faves. And
lyrically, is there anything that's kind of holding everything together, or are they kind of standalone pieces? Do you feel like you're trying to kind of get an overview of something?
Yeah, well, the title for me is kind of the big arc of the album, in the sense that for me the theme of the album is no man is an island, and
right.
that we're kind of more like peninsulas.
Yep.
Because we can still, basically the whole album is just me kind of dealing with this idea of you can still be an individual and exert some kind of autonomy, but still be connected to this bigger sense of community and purpose.
Right.
So from start to finish, it's just kind of me kind of dealing with those doubts and desires, and figuring things out, how to be part of the wider world, but still be, your own person.
And it's pretty good metaphor for the times that we're in right now, even like what we're doing right now. We're all by ourselves, but yet we're kind of reaching out and trying to connect with people in
exactly.
some bizarre way.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's kind of heightened the importance of that, for sure. I think it's kind of made everybody reprioritize, what's important.
Right. So how have you been using this time when you're locked down? Are you doing any music, or are you kind of just sitting in front of the TV watching Oprah?
No, well, for me, when we finished the album, I was kind of a bit musicked out, so I started painting. Well, didn't start painting, but I kind of worked on painting a lot more over lockdown.
Yeah.
So I just kind of worked on that. I kind of collect hobbies. I'm a bit of a hobby collector, so I just worked on paintings, and it's only now gradually that we've kind of eased out of lockdown and things have gotten a bit more normal. I started thinking about working on demos and new stuff, so that's been fun.
So what other hobbies have you had over the years that you've taken up and discarded?
Yeah, well, I've thankfully kept most of the ones that I was really passionate about. I started off with poetry and literature and things like that. So from like the age of 12, I've always kind of written poems and short stories, and then I got into photography and film and things like that, painting, drawing, and then just music as well. So it's kind of, I just like more strings to your bow, for sure.
Yeah. So does that in poetry and films and all that stuff, do you think it informs what we hear in your music?
I hope so. I think especially for me, I'm like a very visual thinker, so a lot of my lyrics tend to lend themselves to very concrete images and kind of cinematic imagery. So I would hope that kind of comes through in the songs, and that they have some sort of atmosphere, or at least a kind of sense of place and time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what's the scene like in Belfast these days? I mean, I assume there's no scene at the moment, but generally speaking, are you part of the
usually? Yeah. So the scene here it's actually doing great. It's kind of had a big resurgence in like the amount of artists that are seriously making a go of it and making this their kind of career. So part of the reason why I moved up to Belfast, because I'm originally from a little town that's about 30 miles out. But when I started gigging and releasing music, made sense to move up here because this is kind of where it's happening. yeah, it's a very supportive community because we're such Northern Ireland's such a small country, and Belfast is a pretty small city.
Right.
So everybody kind of knows everybody, and they're very supportive of each other's work, and we play on the same bills and things like that. So it's been really good to get to know so many people over the past like 4 or 5 years doing this. So yeah.
It sounds kind of like the New Zealand scene. So, it's a small country, everybody knows everybody. We're all stuck
Yeah,
on an island
exactly.
together,
Yeah.
Have you ever been
For
here?
sure. No, I would love to go visit. Yeah.
Well,
Seems
so
so
far,
beautiful.
it's going to be a while, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah. Maybe in the next decade I'll get over there. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
hopefully it won't be that long. But I mean, I think it's just driving
Yeah.
everybody around the world crazy that you don't realize how much travel really affects, and how all these people able to come in and out and
Yeah,
do their
yeah.
thing makes a difference in your life. So
It really
yeah,
does.
I don't know how it's going to go back to normal, but we'll have to see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So have you done like live things online and things to try to make up for it?
Yeah, like here and there. Because I think for especially at the beginning, there was kind of this moment of panic, like how are we gonna like engage with our, our audiences and play shows and things. I kind of the live stream thing's fine. It's not necessarily my favorite way to kind of present the music,
Right.
especially if there's like, because a lot of these songs are like full band, big arrangements, and to kind of
Right.
try to translate that just one person on camera
Yeah.
is challenging, but can also be super fun as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I imagine you
I
miss the
think
feedback that
mostly,
you get from people being in the room with you and listening to it and how
yeah,
they.
it definitely feels more natural in a kind of intimate gig setting. I know there's been some artists and things that have been able to kind of do very limited numbers of like selling tickets and socially distance, and that's kind of cool that they can make it so intimate and still have that kind of connection with artist and an audience. So I think for me, like the live stream thing's just really fun to just have a chat with people and
Yeah.
say hi. Yeah.
In some form or another. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it just shows how desperate people are to connect with each other, because no matter what happens, we're stuck in our little apartments that are all over the place, or houses or
Yeah.
whatever, and we still got to reach out and try and talk to somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
It's a beautiful thing.
So the record's been out for almost a week. What's next? What are you thinking about?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think I'm just gonna try to keep up momentum and continue writing and see what happens in the next few months or so, because things are still a bit sketchy here. But
Yeah.
I think one of the really cool things about or one of the slightly more positive things to come out of this is that you kind of do tend to approach things more creatively. Like you have to find new ways to kind of to do things and adjust to the times and what's happening. So hopefully over the next while I'll be able to do more of that.
Well, yeah, it does force everybody to think outside the circle a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
And good things can come from that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Cool. All righty. Well, thank you for talking to me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for making the record.
No, thank you.
Hopefully it does everything that it can do in this situation. And
I hope so too.
people can buy it and listen to it at home, and hopefully you can get out in front of some live bodies in a few minutes or days or weeks or months. Who knows?
For sure. Yeah.
All righty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sweet. See you.
Bye.
Bye.